Hello, everybody. So, Polyglotton just hit 20,000 likes on Facebook, which is absolutely amazing. And so to celebrate, I asked you guys to send me in some questions so we could do a little video Q&A so you could get to know me, get to know what my opinions are and my thoughts are on different language-related issues. So, here we go. Our first question comes from David in Ecuador, who asks, is loving languages enough reason to learn an indigenous language, Quechua in his case, because he's Ecuadorian, or should I only learn if I plan on using it? Now, this is a source of a lot of debate in the polyglot community. Do you learn a quote unquote less useful language that you feel drawn to, or do you dedicate yourself to a more useful or more universally spoken language? While I think the ideal answer is, both, I think at the same time, I tend to lean more in the direction of learning the languages that really grab your fancy, because those are the ones that you're really actually going to stick with. And I think it's a lot more important for us to have people who are passionate about the languages and cultures that they're learning than it is for us to have more people who are marketable in language. For example, think of how many people study Latin. You definitely don't study Latin for the conversation. Trust me, I've tried. You study Latin to connect with the ideas, to read the literature, to make a connection with a long gone people, and yet we still study Latin all the time. So when it comes down to it, I think you have to learn a language that you're truly passionate about. I think that's a lot more important than learning a marketable language. There are a lot of people who will disagree with me on that, but c'est la vie, they can make their own video. A related question is, should I learn an indigenous language or should I focus on more mainstream languages to promote more universal communication? I've actually gotten a lot of messages on this. Since 2019 is the International Year of Indigenous Languages, I've been posting more about indigenous languages, and people tend to message me saying, shouldn't we focus more on mainstream languages so that we can communicate more with one another and achieve some greater diplomacy? That really depends on your motivation. Like, there are a lot of different reasons you might learn a language. You might be learning just to communicate with one person. You might be learning to connect with a culture. You might be learning for the sake of traveling. You might be learning a language for the sake of reading literature. And in any case, there are a lot of different reasons to learn an indigenous language. At the very least, even if you don't use it that much, you're showing a lot of respect to the indigenous people whose land you're living on. And yes, there is a usefulness to learning a more universal language, but there's also a very important aspect of having more diversity of thought and culture. We often make the mistake of thinking that diversity equals disparity, which it does not. A hand is diverse from a foot, but they both work together to make one functioning body. Similarly, the more ideas that we have to bring to the table, the more perspectives that we have to bring to the table, the more unstoppable we'll be as a society. Plus, if you really want to make an impact, one of the greatest things about learning an indigenous language is that it allows you to be a bridge builder between different groups and communities. Several of you asked this next question: what is your favorite expression or word in any language? Backpfeifengesicht. So, Backpfeifengesicht is a wonderful word. Backpfeifen literally translates to cheek whistle. So, a cheek whistle is a slap. It whistles through the air, hits you in the face. And Gesicht means face. So, Backpfeifengesicht is a German word literally meaning cheek whistle face. And it means a face just ready to be slapped, a face that is begging to be slapped, a face worthy of slapping, if you will. Absolutely wonderful word. Couldn't ask for better. Nicolo D'Ignacio asks, is learning a conlang, or a made-up language, a waste of time or a good exercise for the mind? Well, Nicolo, first of all, great name. Congratulations on that. Nicolo D'Ignacio. Nicolo D'Ignacio. I'm going to be saying that all day. Nicolo D'Ignacio. Anyway, back to the question. Is learning a conlang a waste of time or a good exercise for the mind? Tio estás ponego demando. I realize this is a very divisive issue, but I have studied several conlangs myself, and I have found them to be remarkably fun to learn and also useful to learn. Will learning Tokipona or High Valyrian help you to communicate as much as Korean or Swahili? No, it won't. But will it help increase the plasticity in your mind and increase your ability to understand languages and how they work? In most cases, absolutely it will. Plus, it's worth mentioning that most conlangs take comparatively much less time and effort to learn than natural languages, so they can only really get in the way of you studying other languages or other things so much. When it comes to the issue of learning a natural language versus a made-up language, I think the real answer is secret option number 3, which is both and then make up your own language. Fun fact, actually, I have actually tried my hand in making up my own language just for the fun of it, and it is a fantastically fun thing to do. Once you know what you're doing, it doesn't take that much time or effort to make a functioning language. So if enough people request it, I would be open to the idea of making a series on language creation. So let me know if that's something you guys would be interested in, and then we'll see where things go. Maybe we could make one up and just learn it together, like the official polyglotton language. That'd be cool. The nerd in me really likes that idea. Marcelo Morillo asks, what languages do you speak and which one is your favorite? Oof. That's like asking me to pick a favorite child. German. Anyway, so out of the languages that I speak proficiently and can converse in without breaking back into English, let's see, what do I speak? Obviously, English is my native language, and on top of that, I speak German, Spanish, Italian, Pennsylvania Dutch. I sign American Sign Language, and I also have a good level of proficiency in French, Dutch, Latin, and Afrikaans. I have studied 2 conlangs before, if you're into that sort of thing, Esperanto and Tokipona, but I have yet to have the distinct pleasure of actually having a conversation in either of them. I recently started studying Tagalog, but I haven't gotten very far into that yet, so I'll have to keep you guys posted on how that goes. This is probably my favorite question I received. How many languages do you consider to be enough? In parentheses, like not overkill. Let me ask you a question, my friend. How many stars are enough to see in the sky? How many times hearing a child's laughter is ever going to be enough? How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Okay, in all seriousness, though, this is a great question. It does kind of depend on the individual and why you're learning each language. For example, if you are learning to speak French to communicate with your wife's family and you're learning Xhosa to communicate with your grandparents, then French and Xhosa are 2 very important languages to you, I hope. So if you're learning Polish and you realize that the more that you study Polish, the more you lose progress in French and Xhosa, that's a pretty good sign that you should start pacing yourself because those are more important languages to you. But if you're just learning a language for the sake of learning languages, that you just love connecting with other cultures, love experiencing new literature and new perspectives on things, then just do it until you decide that you don't want to anymore. Who's stopping you? You're doing it for you. Do what you feel is right. You got this. All right, well, that is all for today. Thank you guys so much for sending in all your questions. If I did not get to your question, don't worry. It's not that I'm ignoring it, and it's not that I didn't like it. I just got a lot of questions, so I decided to save some of them for another video. There are some that I might do in a second Q&A video, and there's some that I thought needed a little more attention, a little more time, so I might do an entirely separate video on just that one question. In any case, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy this video, then be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button. I'm sure that does something. I don't know what it does for me, but I'm sure it does something great. And if you haven't already, be sure to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for more language-related stuff such as this. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Macht's gut. Tschüss.